Leaders of the world unite. It's time to war, to fight the fight against the puppet masters pulling strings. We'll strip away the power, hear our piercing screams. We won't be silenced anymore. We break free from the chains that they adore. Stand tall, unrigging the game we rise. We'll bring reality from their lies. Unrig the game, unleash the fury. Say his name and he appears.
This is a friendship that'll never ever end.
Greetings and welcome to Unrig the Game. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you're all doing and living well. First, let me thank all of those Winner Circle members that support the channel on a monthly basis. Thank you so much for your support. It's much appreciated. And thank you to Shelly and Wolfram also, who are supporting over on Rumble. Of course, I'm broadcasting live on YouTube, Rumble, and X as always. And this is the kickoff show. Coming up next, part one, Wild Bill Donovan, the Bolsheviks, and J. Edgar Hoover, chapters 4 through 6 of Big Intel by J. Michael Waller. That is going to be exclusively on Rumble and X. But this is the kickoff show, and tonight on the kickoff show, we have a very special presentation for you. So I hope you'll stick around and watch that. This will be an interview with Robert Gouveia Esquire and Joe Sweeney, ex-CIA lawyer, exposes deep state plot to stop Trump. But more than that, this interview goes deep into media mind control. That's why I've labeled it as such, of course, in the title, and of course, also because I don't have that many characters. So there you go. But yeah, this is what that's what the kickoff show is about tonight, and it's going to be a banger, man. You're going to love it. I'm really love this interview, and I want to check out this guy Joe Sweeney's book now. It's like just off this interview alone, amazing stuff. But let me say hello to the crowd out there. Wolfram, thank you for dropping the links, my man. And remember to always listen to the wolf. He wipes his paws, lips in the house, and he is here, y'all. Hey, Heidi, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. There's our hostess with the mostest, Shelly, talking trash and truth, greeting everybody as they walk in to the show. All right. So happy to see everybody. So happy you guys are here. We're going to have a great evening. I'm excited about this book that we're reading, Big Intel. It's already off to a blazing start. And if you didn't catch the first show of this book, which was last week, over on Rumble, and in the description, there's a link to it on YouTube and on Rumble, is a playlist. And I got to remember to go ahead and add this to the playlist. Let's see. Save to the playlist. There we go. Okay, now this is up. Try that again. Now this, yeah, it's in there. It's in there. Okay, so now this one's in there too. And you guys are gonna love this book. I'm telling you, it's amazing. And thank you to hold on, I'm gonna tell you in a second. Thank you to Hergis Biebergis. That's a long name, but thank you. 12 hours ago, followed on Rumble. We are now up to 495. So we need the fantastic 5 to get us to 500. Maybe we'll find them tonight. If you want to be part of the fantastic 5, hit follow, and you can get us to 500. You can say, hey, I helped that channel get to 500. That would be awesome. Over on X, we are at 655. We're gaining followers there slowly but surely. And as I'm over there, let me go ahead and grab the link to tonight's show on X, because I'm getting ready to post the full stream links in the chat. It's already going to be saved in the description for you as of right this second. And oops, I didn't turn on the did I? I guess I didn't. Let me go to this and turn on my view from YouTube. Boom. All right. And I'm going with low latency, guys, just because I feel like it's better video quality. I really want to make sure you guys get the best experience when you're here. So if I'm a little delayed on your chats, it's just by just a little bit less than ultra low latency. But you know me, I want to include my crowd in the chat, their comments throughout the show, and I always want to answer any questions that are out there. I'm always available to you. And you don't get lost in the shuffle here because we have a very exclusive crowd, like a coffee house crowd. But yeah, and thinking about that, I was talking with Shelly before the show, and we're talking about, everybody was and rightfully so, upset about the results in 2020 with the elections, and thinking about it, like hindsight being 2020, right? Now that we look back at it, are we maybe a little bit glad it went down that way? I'm starting to think that, that it was maybe a good thing that happened, because look at all the good that's come out of it and the results of it has come out of it. It's given Trump 4 more years to kind of like think over things and get good people on his side and get his message out more, get people to know him more for who he really is. It's helped more people come to the cause, more people leave the establishment narrative. It's awakened so many people, and people like Vivek might not have been on board. I don't know. It's like, it's just, Elon. There's a whole JFK, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. So many people have come around. Not to mention the mass awakening in the Black community, which has been phenomenal. It's given the establishment more time to ruin themselves. It's the border's gotten worse, and that's something that's horrific, right? But at the same time, it's opened so many eyes. Hey, T-Rex, how you doing? I see you there. And it's and also with all the COVID stuff, what had gotten dumped on him, instead we can look at the corrupt establishment, the Biden-Harris administration that represents that corrupt establishment, and look at them and look at all the bad things they have done, and they got the rap for all that stuff. I think that 4-year break, as bad as it seemed at the time, is really a good thing. And and maybe we should thank them for trying to steal that election, because they showed their hand too. So now we know all their tricks, and hopefully we're ready for those tricks, ready to counter those measures that they're going to try to pull on us. So when you look back, man, it takes me back to the idea of what I always talk about in terms of interfaith, right? And to have true interfaith, it means that you believe, no matter right or wrong, good or bad, whatever's happening right now is happening for the best reason. And you just have to have faith, and you'll see the good results of that. And it's hard for people to, I know that it's a hard concept to kind of understand, but when you could have that kind of faith, you have like the ultimate confidence in life. You have the ultimate confidence in life, and it gives you a grace and a humbleness and a patience that is needed in this world right now. So I think that, looking back on it, as hard as that was, and hard as it was to swallow, and to feel like that big, defeat, and to feel like the bad guys got one over on us, and all the little useful idiots cackling their heads off, and feeling like they're so superior to us. That's just part of their mind control condition. But at the same time, it was hard, right? And it was uncertain, a lot of uncertainty too. But we've made it this far, and we're so close to the next election. We just have to see it through, band together, work hard, stay active through this time period, and let's just leave it all on the field, because we don't have a choice otherwise. We really don't have a choice. We have to leave it all on the field this time. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm happy that you're here to share this experience with me and everybody else that comes to the shows. Man, you guys are a very special crowd, and I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Let me say hello to some of the people who've came in since I started talking about that. Let's see, do I have anything else to say about that? Nah, not right now. All right, so T-Rex Trucking and More is here, y'all. So we've got an upcoming port worker strike, parts of north of South Carolina just completely washed away, which contributes to railroads not being able to continue operations. Oof. It's going to be a rough couple of weeks, folks. It's just stocking up on the necessities. Wow. So we got a supply chain issue coming from one of our great friends, T-Rex Trucking, who is part of that supply chain. He's working hard at it every day, and he helps keep America rolling. So yeah, take the word of somebody who is out there doing it. Stock up well, and get ahead of the crowds before they figure it out. You might want to get some extra paper products that seem to be that seem to be in scarcity when supply chain issues go down. Stock up, be ready. Good call, because I'm getting ready to order groceries, so I'm gonna take your advice and do a little bit extra on this run. So I will do that. And you said next couple of weeks, so hopefully we get it back on track. Keep us informed about that T-Rex trucking. And by the way, that's some good content for and more. Just saying, think about Empty Pockets James and what he did. And just by reporting some of the stuff in his own hometown, how his channel took off from just a car repair channel to beyond I mean, just skyrocketed. We saw his ascent there, and he's blown away by it. He didn't even know what to do. Conjures up memories of old Asian kung fu movies when the actors' lips moved. Then you heard the sounds. What is that? Am I out of sync? Is my audio out of sync? Hey, cool gamer. How you doing, my friend? So happy that you're here. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure. And you could subscribe to T-Rex Trucking and More right there. Hey, Memento Mori, how you doing? Hope every day every day you are getting more well every day. And I hope today is even better than yesterday, and tomorrow's even better than today. Longshoreman is the word I was looking for, I bet. All right. Let's see what else we got going on down here. That was when you said something about being delayed. Oh. No tugs, no unloading, no port access, no imports or exports. Nightmare scenario as far as distribution and trade goes. Yeah. And if you're in North Carolina, right, where are you going to send it? I guess you got to send it to what? Up to Norfolk, which is not a big port at all. So they'll have to be finding alternative ports to get to. Hopefully that's how they're going to deal with that. Not a travel, an import, a shipping supply chain logistics expert, but I'm just guessing there. So hopefully that's what it's going to be. Heidi says it's totally going to crash supply chain and a detriment, especially in a deterrent, especially for those facing the effects of the hurricane. Yep, that sucks. A lot of talk today out there on the web about how we just sent a bunch of money over to Taiwan, but we don't have any money for the people who were affected by the hurricane. Thank you, corrupt establishment, always putting America last. That's why we're going to vote you out and put America first. Indeed. All right, see what we got on this. This is about a 20-minute interview. We're going to play it at winning speed, so it'll probably be less than that. And but man, you guys, I'm telling you, this is one of those things where I'm really excited to share it with you, because I think you're gonna get a lot out of it. And not only that, like I mentioned earlier in the week or over the weekend, what he's talking about, listen carefully to what Joe Sweeney's talking about, and tell me if it's not just a different way to put what I've been talking about. Like, I mean, I love it when I come across stuff like this. And let's see, doing a bit better tonight. Thank you. Awesome, man. You're in our thoughts. We want you healthy. So you got to get there. You're gonna get there. Yeah, I mean, the things that he's like I said, I've never seen this guy until I watched this interview. I put him up on screen. Hal, that's him right there. And so when I come across this stuff, you might not know this, but the things that I talk about are things that I've come up with, right? And yeah, I use a lot of supporting material, but these are things that I've come to the conclusions on my own, right? I'm not being influenced by anything outside there. And I don't look for bias confirmation. I actually really look to debunk myself. I actually look to vet my ideas. I do the opposite of what most people do in those terms. Like, I'm trying to validate, make sure that I'm living in truth, right? And I don't look to validate my bias. I look to validate the truth in the matter. Am I living in truth? That's the foundation that I'm looking for through what I search for. And if I come across stuff where I'm wrong, or I need to rethink my ideas, I do that with an open mind. I get out of the denial reflex, right? I get out of that belief system defense mechanism that we talk about a lot here all the time. So that's how I do it, and that's how I approach it. Vet your ideas, revet your sources. Always, always, always. Keep an open mind. Open minds, right? And these are the things these are the tools that I've learned over the years to keep myself out of these either establishment narrative mind control or conspiracy grift mind controls. Like I guess stay out of those things, keeps me out of the abyss. I understand them. Then I can look at everything very objectively and know I'm not going to be taken in by it. That's just, me telling you how I do it. Right. So when you come here, that's the place I'm coming from. But like I said, this Joe Sweeney is gonna be sounding awful like me, but just using slightly different terminology. I thought that was kind of very interesting. It's very interesting. Kind of like when I ran across that other guy that we showed on the Tatum video, where he was talking about how he learned that Donald Trump wasn't a racist despite the establishment narrative. He went back and revetted his ideas. He challenged himself. That's brave. It's brave for a lot of people to do that. And it's you got to be humble to do that too. So you got to really want to know the truth more than be right. And that's what it's about. All right, guys, let's kick into this right here because I want you guys to hear all about this. One last comment here from T-Rex Trucking and More. There are like 37 ports ranging from New York all the way down to Florida and around the Gulf Coast and into Louisiana and Texas that are going to be on strike. On strike for what? That Sisters Company is already planning on rerouting inbound ships to the West Coast. Oof. What's the strike about? I didn't catch this news. So tell me what the strike's about. And we'll talk about it at the conclusion of this video. So let's hit it.
They measle-mouthed it. And Morell admitted this once he was under oath, that it was solely to help Joe Biden to give him a talking point in the upcoming presidential debate. First of all, an elderly man with no prior convictions, no history of violence. When the FBI raided his home, it looked like the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, right? Crazy. I mean, when they want to get you, look what they've...
These guys both talk kind of fast, so I'm going to slow it down to normal for this. I think we're going to be all right.
Done now to Eric Adams in New York.
Yeah.
He's wishing he never criticized the Biden administration right now.
What is happening ultimately? I want to ask about the Hunter Biden letter, the 51 intelligence agents who signed this Hunter Biden letter that was apparently identifying the Hunter hard drive as disinformation. And then we learned that was not actually true, right? That there was actually Hunter Biden's laptop. We also saw the DOJ protecting Hunter Biden, a total different standard that's happening here. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, what's going on? Is this an institutional problem at the top? Is this a political problem from a couple of the key leaders? Because we're here and we often will cover FBI meetings and DOJ meetings. The Attorney General will come into Congress and ask for more money. FBI director will come in and ask for more money, but we don't see the CIA come in and ask for more money. And so we're trying to get our bearing straight on how this is all, working. So I just vomited a lot of stuff out there, but anyway.
I get it. What I can tell you is it's worse than you think.
Okay.
And in my book, I have a quote from the French philosopher Voltaire, who I happen to be a fan of. And Voltaire once quipped that anyone who can get you to believe absurdities can get you to commit atrocities. And I apply that to the Democratic Party because they have gotten their adherents to believe in absurdities. The Hunter Biden laptop was not Hunter Biden's. Walls don't work. There's more than two sexes. You can't define the word woman. Biden is the smartest guy in the room. And Trump is an existential threat to democracy. I could go on and on and on. The absurdities that they have gotten their people to believe. And then Voltaire's line.
Do you guys hear that? I love that quote. Did he put it on screen? I don't think he put it on screen. If you can get people to believe absurdities, you can get to them. Let me rewind it because I really love this quote.
Biden is the smartest guy in the room, and Trump is an existential threat to democracy. I could go on and on and on. The absurdities that they have gotten their people to believe. And then Voltaire's logic was that once the faculty of the mind has been dominated, from then it's a slippery slope down. And so you could get them to commit atrocities.
I miss it.
Believe absurdities can get you to commit atrocities.
Okay, those who can get you to believe absurdities can get you to commit atrocities. Talk about that information-based mind control, right? Box into the narrative, right? Dictating your perception of reality, believing in atrocities, and then can activate you. Believing in absurdities and then activating you to commit atrocities. And we wonder why these things break out. We wonder why people go off and do things, right, that are bad and hurtful to others. We wonder why people get out there and riot and commit crimes and become demoralized and act in a demoralized fashion, which leads to destability, destabilizing destability, right? Destabilizing the world, right? That brings us to crisis, and that normalizes new things that we don't want. Normalizes the establishment plant posing as the savior in the situation that they created, the Hegelian dialectic.
And I apply that to the Democratic Party because they have gotten their adherents to believe in absurdities. The Hunter Biden laptop was not Hunter Biden's. Walls don't work. There's more than two sexes. You can't define the word woman. Biden is the smartest guy in the room. And Trump is an existential threat to democracy. I could go on and on and on. The absurdities that they have gotten their people to believe. And then Voltaire's logic was that once the faculty of the mind has been dominated, from then it's a slippery slope down. And so you could get them to commit a
once the faculties of the mind are dominated, it's a slippery slope down. I love these quotes.
Of the mind has been dominated, from then it's a slippery slope down. And so you could get them to commit atrocities. And so the people, and this isn't just political appointees, it's career people in the FBI and DOJ who wield a great deal of power. And you know better than anyone how much power a federal prosecutor can wield. They just became tainted, right? And they started to believe the BS. And I trace this all the way back to 2016, when Hillary Clinton was supposed to be a shoo-in. They were all planning the coronation. They were hanging the buntings. And then all of a sudden, this Trump guy came along like the Grinch and stole the coronation. They were in despair. And I live in D.C. D.C.'s 92% for Joe Biden in 2020. And I'm surrounded by Democrats. It's a stronghold for the Democratic Party. And my neighbors were in deep despair. They were in shock. And while they were down and in shock, the Democratic Party just filled them with hatred and fear and just hate-filled rhetoric. And they became poisoned by it. And they came to believe that, the ends justified the means. As long as they were going to get Trump, it wouldn't matter, right? It doesn't matter.
Yes, and justify the means. And for all those people out there that are on the left that grew up hating the neocon right, the false right paradigm, right? We all knew that the neocons slogan was the same: the ends justify the means.
Twist the laws, twist the facts, do whatever you have to do. It's all justified because you're getting Trump. And they just lost it, and that's what I saw happen. And it's across.
And it does. I mean, think about all the people that are out there just flat out lying on X, flat out lying in videos now. They've excused themselves from their own hypocrisy, from their own deceit, right? From their own immoral behavior. They've excused themselves for it because they believe they're fighting for a bigger cause. They think that it's okay. And this is why I'm telling people that we can't ever become what we fight, right? We can't take on that same strategy or else they win. And, so that's why I go hard against conspiracy grifters, because and people that are just jumping the shark, there's probably a fine line between the two, and then sometimes they cross. But, that's why we can't jump the shark. We have to, right? We can't become the evil that we fight, or the evil wins. And I know that sounds strange. And in warfare, one person will shoot at you, you shoot back. Killing is in warfare acceptable, right? And it's not the same thing, but it is. I mean, it is a type of warfare. So there's a little bit of a conundrum there. But to work it out is like, what in the end, how is it going to be, right? And if it is a strategy, then it has to be a temporary one. But I still believe that when you practice deceit, you're holding hands with evil, and that's what we're fighting against. On the other side is this intentions come from an evil energy that then manifests itself through evil ideas, right? Like authoritarianism and dominance and deception and everything else. And then the results come out and these institutions that practice these things, and the corruption and the individual that works with it, that becomes a useful idiot for it, right? So that's what I'm talking about when it comes to that, and that's what he's saying. I believe what he's saying right here.
The board. And, back in 2016, at least back then, when they were unlawfully targeting the Trump campaign, back then they were using intelligence collection authorities, right? Like FISA warrant, targets the board. And, Trump,
right.
and they just lost it, and that's what I saw happen. And it's
They are
across
losing
the
it.
board. And, back in 2016, at least back then, when they were unlawfully targeting the Trump campaign, back then they were using intelligence collection authorities, right? Like FISA warrants and they're under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. At least back then, they had the decency to try and hide what they were doing. Nowadays, from the raid on, they're acting openly as an enforcement arm of the Democratic Party. And the way you're able to do that, again, is not only do you have the political appointees on board with doing it, but you have a high-level careerists who have a great deal of power who think that it's okay as long as they get Trump. And look what happened back in 2016. The FBI leadership got wiped out. Comey got fired. McCabe got fired. He was the deputy director. And then there was Lisa Page and, Pete Strzok and others. They all drank the Kool-Aid. They fell prey to the hatred and it warped them.
Yep.
Yeah, we see a lot of that. And I remember we read the transcript. I think it was Mike Morrell from the ex-CIA director who sat down for that testimony with the House and basically said the same thing when they were questioning him about the conversation with Anthony Blinken and providing Biden with those talking points. And so I think there's that quote, I think it was from George Carlin, or maybe he got it from somewhere, that you don't need a conspiracy when you have common interests.
Okay, there it is. I mean, Carlin said this. I didn't get it from Carlin, but I talk about the conspiracy of an idea, right? How you don't need to have central planning if everybody's working in the same interest, right? If they're behind the same evil idea, right? They're working in the interest of that evil idea. They'll all do and commit actions that will lead to the same end result, right? So they're all pushing. And when things can seem conspiratorial, a lot of times when they're not, people's actions, it's kind of like us, right? We're all working under the same good idea, right? And so we've all met up here. We've all found each other. And we're also doing the things that are trying to resist and push back and prevent and destroy the evil idea that these people are working under. So, I mean, we're not coordinated here. We didn't get centrally planned to all be here or all work under these ideas, right? We're just, all do the same kind of actions, right? We work under the same good idea. And it's like, we have our own quote unquote conspiracy of an idea behind us. It just comes from the good energy and not the evil energy.
And people are working together because they just don't like Trump, right? It's kind of to get Trump. And there are a lot of forces at play to do that.
Yeah. And I know many of the people who signed that Hunter Biden letter. There were like 51 of them. I know many of them. Yep. They're all hardcore Democrats, right? That's the common thread between them. Right. You're either hardcore Democrats or just Trump haters. And the language of the letter is very finely wordsmithed.
Very,
right? Oh, it has all the earmarks of a Russia disinformation. They don't say it is, right? And so they measle-mouthed it. And Morrell admitted this once he was under oath, that it was solely to help Joe Biden, to give him a talking point in the upcoming presidential debate. And it worked, right? It worked.
It did work. And I think it's an unfortunate thing. I think it's, as more and more people are learning about it, I think it's wrecking the credibility of our institutions, that we can't rely on them to come out and give us an honest shake. And I think Trump is the victim of a lot of this right now. And
it's so funny. Like, this is the part where it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, really? We've only been talking about it for like 10, 20, 15, 15, 20 years or more. You've only been talking about that long, but now it's just like, oh, wow, people are starting to figure it out. It's like, did you just figure it out? I don't know. But I love the work that Robert's doing, but it's just that part makes me chuckle, because it's like, man, it's like I've known that for a long time, and trying to get people to understand that has been like pulling teeth.
Come out and give us an honest shake. And I think Trump is the victim of a lot of this right now. And he is fortunately strong enough to weather the storm. But I mean, anybody else getting prosecuted for something like this, anybody else that has the book thrown at them and has the entire DOJ and FBI and all these agencies orient themselves, I think is going to get steamrolled.
Yeah. In my book, again, I trace it all the way back to 2016, right? And so first we have what I call the Russia collusion hoax coup, because it was more than a hoax. It was a soft coup. And then we had the persecution of General Flynn, Trump's national security advisor. Then we had the persecution of Trump's close friend, Roger Stone. I mean, do you remember when the FBI raided Stone? First of all, an elderly man with no prior convictions, no history of violence. When the FBI raided his home, it looked like the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan, right? Crazy. Then you go forward to the impeachment hoaxes, and then to the J6 kangaroo court. It's one attempt after another to politically assassinate Trump. And then when they couldn't politically assassinate him, they created conditions that would permit a physical assassination of Trump. Now, do I think, they were planning an assassination? No, I don't. But they certainly were not willing to provide resources that were adequate to protect Trump. They were
So yeah, so that's a good point right there too, right? And that's really what we're seeing. And like all the people are like, deep state was in on it. They tried to assassinate him. I don't know if they're actually thinking this deeply when they say it. So I kind of reject those kind of ideas. But when you put it in this context, like Sweeney's talking about here, right, where you have this slander campaign that creates this hatred, that creates this evil idea that people follow behind naturally because the ends justify the means, right? Then you kind of loosen up the security around them, or you don't prioritize it, or you make it so it's not optimal, right? You make it kind of incompetent, right? Then that opens up the possibilities for when those loose cannons fire, the ones that have been affected by the mainstream media, the establishment mind control, right? The information-based mind control. I'm trying to really normalize the word mind control because I want people to realize it's not some fucking, deep state CIA guys, having you locked in a closet, feeding you acid and making you watch disgusting things on a television night and day and sleep depriving you until your mind snaps. That's a different form of mind control, and that rarely is effective because it just destroys the person. If anything, it's never effective, right? But it's actually the abundance of negative information and boxed into a narrative where they can't dispute these ideas that causes certain individuals under the right conditions, ones that are already corrupted, already demoralized, to snap into action behind that evil idea. And that's why I love this interview. I feel like I can use this to better explain where I'm coming from. And this guy is just laying it out in a way that, obviously I try to, but I'm using my own language a lot of times. And so, he's basically spelling out everything I've been saying here in a certain way, right? In a certain way. So I love this interview because I feel like I can really use it to communicate better the ideas. I mean, I think that most of you guys get where I'm coming from. But if this helps, man, it's even better, right?
declining requests that were made for additional security. And the only reason those requests were being made is because they needed to be made, right? And so on the one hand, they were not permitting adequate safeguards to protect Trump, while on the other hand, they were whipping up, through violent rhetoric, all kinds of passions that are not healthy for the nation. Oh, and one thing that's often forgotten is while they were declining to allocate the resources that were necessary to protect Trump, Benny Thompson introduced a bill into Congress. This is HR 8081 to remove completely Trump's Secret Service protection. Think how vile that is, how depraved.
Yeah. And I remember when that came out, I was like, yeah, there they are. That's the way they're going to try to get the job done. They want done. They won't do it themselves, right? And he's going to explain it here in a little while why that is, and that's what I think as well. And people who take that leap are I think, a little bit too spy movie, maybe a little bit too Hollywood on their thinking. And I get it. There's archetypes out there, and if you don't vet out those ideas, you may still be locked into them. But really listen to what he's saying about this right here. Like this bill to remove his security, right? His Secret Service protection just leaves the gate wide open for all the people they've spun up and made emotionally distraught over Trump. These TDS people, right? The right loose cannon's going to fire in that situation because they see the opportunity.
That is because the only reason he has that protection is to protect his life, and not just his life, his wife and his kids. I mean, how depraved. Can you imagine if the Republicans had introduced a bill into Congress to remove Barack Obama's Secret Service protection? Those Republican legislators would likely be rounded up, handcuffed, and on a plane flight to Gitmo, courtesy of Merrick Garland. And then they'd be indicted for some, collusion, conspiracy to murder former President Obama. They'd be down at Gitmo getting bread and water, and the water they'd be getting would be on a declined board with a cloth over their face.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think in some maybe subconscious, sick way, they're telegraphing what they want to happen. And I hate to even say that, but there were way too many people who were making inappropriate comments after the first assassination attempt and the second assassination attempt. And the second assassination attempt with this Ruth fellow, Ryan Ruth, he was traveling back and forth to Ukraine. And what ends up happening in a lot of these situations, and I'm guilty of it myself too, is when anything unexplainable goes on, everybody just says, oh, it's the CIA. CIA did it because it's.
I mean, dude, that's why I love. You see why I'm loving this interview? You see why I'm loving it? I mean, look at he's already smiling too. Me, the three of us are all on the same page about this, and he's seeing Robert is doing phenomenal work right now, by the way. And he's seeing this the same way I'm seeing it too. Is that, as soon as something we can't explain goes along, it's CIA inside job. And it's like, dude, are you even thinking about what you're saying when you're saying that? And Sweeney's going to come back with a great response to this. Watch this.
It's, a nice convenient thing to say the CIA did it. And it really explains a lot of things that we don't have good explanations for. But with Ryan Ruth, right, we're asking ourselves, okay, is the CIA involved in Ukraine? And this guy's really affiliated with Ukraine. He's coming back and forth, and he seems, gets reported to Homeland, or Border Patrol reports him to Homeland. They let him go back and forth and go through. What are you seeing with these things? I mean, I'm sure you can't say, yes, the CIA did it or something like that, but what's your perception on what's happening with these other incidents? Is this random, or is there something else going on?
I'm not a big conspiracy theorist because I've worked behind the scenes and I've been on the receiving end of those types of accusations. And I always laugh and I think to myself, wow, first of all, they think there's people in the government smart enough to plan that and pull it off. Oh yeah, that would be nice. And then two, even if the government was smart enough to plan it and pull it off, you think they could keep that a secret? If there's more than two people involved in something of that nature, you ain't keeping that a secret. That's going to leak. So for that reason, I'm not big on the conspiracy theories. And I know that often the explanation is just government incompetence, right? But especially when it comes to protecting Trump. And
well, and I'll add to that, incompetence. It's what do you expect when you put corruption in charge? And that's what I've been saying the entire time through these assassination attempts, right? Especially with the Secret Service, the failures on July 13th, right? They, when you put incompetence in charge, right? It's the fish rots from the head down. And I hate to use philosophical analogies and stuff like that, but really that's the whole point, right? To have these institutions start failing and start becoming incompetent, and the whole system looks broken, so that they can come in and say, look, it's all messed up. We have to just scrap it and start over. Oh, and by the way, here's our new plan, right? It's called stakeholder capitalism. It's called, we don't have these rights. They're given to you by government. They're not given to you by God. This Constitution is in the way of real prosperity and utopia. It's all these things where they come in and when they go, look at your system, it's not working, it's broken. Capitalism is broken. The Bill of Rights and liberty and freedom, it's broken. We need to have more structure. We need to have more authoritarianism. That's what's going to make everybody's life better. So they're causing a crisis. They're creating the conditions to cause a crisis that then poses a savior. Hegelian dialectic. This is something I've been talking about for decades now, and it's part of the root strategy of what they're doing. So you'll start to see it in everything if you put this into your mind and just look at the results. Look at how things get spun up, what happens, and then who comes in there with a new plan, right? Normalization. So think of the solution as normalization, the optimized version of ideological subversion, right? So instead of rolling tanks through the, through the town to be normalized as the Russians would have done it, the Soviets would have done it, right? Normalization now is them posing as the savior to push their agenda through, because they're looking for a technocracy, not a takeover, a technocracy that's going to rule us through technology and stakeholder capitalism that's coming from the globalist organizations, UNWEF, right? And I always say those two together because they're working hand in hand, right? One's public, one's private. That's how it works. All right, back to the interview here.
So that's how I would see it, just incompetence. It is inconceivable to me that guy was not on everybody's radar, right? Intelligence, law enforcement, everybody, all over the radar.
Right.
Okay, so the radar question, right? I asked a question about what does on the radar mean? At any given time, there's they have to have like a million. We've talked about this before here as well. And man, how do you keep 500,000, 1 million more people on the radar, right? What does on the radar mean? To what degree? I believe he goes into a better explanation of on the radar here.
That's why we're all scratching our heads saying, what the heck, man? I thought all these agencies were there to identify these people in particular. This guy's got 100 felonies, and then suddenly he's in the vicinity of Trump.
Here's one thing that nobody focuses on. It is very difficult, and this is purposeful. It is difficult to target United States citizens for collection with intelligence authorities. And that's purposeful. And the rules on that, they're published. That's Executive Order 12333. It's on the public record, right? And so it's difficult to target U.S. citizens with intelligence collection authorities. Now, I can't speak to the law enforcement authorities. That wasn't my bailiwick, but I would imagine they have, well, for the most part, they have probably similar restrictions. They got to be careful. But then look what they did when they want to do it. Like, look what they did to Roger Stone, to Michael Flynn.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when they want to get you, look what they've done now to Eric Adams in New York.
Yeah.
Although he's wishing he never criticized the Biden administration right now.
Well, and I'm wondering about, like J6 too. I understand your point about the government being incompetent. I think we see it. We can all experience it. I worry about the weaponization of incompetence as an excuse for when bad things happen. Oh, we couldn't put someone on the roof, and it's very slopey, and it was hot that day. And come on, come on. So if it's incompetence, in certain domains, the Secret Service shouldn't be incompetent in that domain. It's kind of their primary deliverable is to make sure people don't get shot. Right. And so it feels like an easy scapegoat. And then we see other situations where in January 6th, where we know that there were a bunch of undercover people there who were
That's a difference, right? That's a difference. There's not incompetence going on there. In fact, they were very competently, if you want to talk about conspiracies, there's one for you. They very competently played that one out. They had that all nice and planned out. Boy, I tell you, I'm not conspiracy averse. I'm just a conspiracy grift, jumping the shark averse, right? That's what I'm talking about. There are real conspiracies out there, and I always say that. So, it's an interesting place to be here in the middle, right? Where you can actually see that there are real conspiracies, yet there's also a ton of shark jumping and conspiracy grifts that are out there as well. So just because conspiracies do exist, right, does not mean that all of them are true. And I think a lot of people that come out of the first veil, the establishment narrative, tend to fall into that category where they believe that, okay, well, then all conspiracies are true. So now I'm open to believing all kinds of bullshit. And I think the establishment knows that as well. And I think grifters know that as well. So at least innately know that. But yeah, you can be conspiracy realistic, right? We had the open conspiracies like the Agenda 2030 and all the things going on at the UN, Pact for the Future, all that stuff that we're going to be talking about here coming up on future shows. But also, but still using common sense when we're trying to decipher these, right? So I don't know that, July 13th had anything to do with a grand conspiracy other than, hey, break down the competency of and break down the resources of that Secret Service detail, and let's see what happens, right? Let's open the possibilities up for those loose cannons are ready to fire. But at the same time, looking at something like that's what people will use, like January 6th as a straw man, and you don't want to use that as a straw man when you're talking about July 13th, right? They're two separate events. You got to separate those two apart. We have evidence as to what's going on in both, right? And so one does not look like the other. When you purposely stand down the National Guard, you reject additional assistance. That's some of it, but you put agitators in the crowd, you put feds in the crowd. They weren't there to stop it from happening. They were there to help it happen. You open the doors, let people in. And as the people walk through, they're staying between the nice roped lines like they're in a tour. I mean, that's a little different from than crooks, sneaking around and getting past the radar of Secret Service and getting up on that roof and using the trees to block block the sniper's line of sight so he can get the shot off. Big difference.
Part of the government, part of intelligence agencies. We know it. We covered the Proud Boys trial where they stipulated and admitted that there were 8 federal agents there. There were only 5 Proud Boys there. And we also saw that I think the defense was trying to also admit something like evidence of 50 CHSs there. And so if we can't even get evidence, we all saw this event happen, and they won't even tell us what really happened there with all of that other things. I think that's where people get skeptical that maybe some of these conspiracies can happen and that something else more complicated can just be buried by all the power at play.
It reminds me me of a story. I worked with an old FBI agent who'd been around forever, to include through the 60s and 70s, when they were targeting the anti-war protesters. And he told me a story of when he went to an anti-war protest meeting. There were about a dozen people, and 10 of them were government undercover people at the meeting.
Yeah.
So yes, it does happen. I don't know anything about J6 specifically.
Yeah.
All I needed to do was see the photographs of the people around that day. I could pick out those people. It wasn't
Right.
hard. So yeah, there is
Right.
something to that. So we covered general.
Do you guys see what's going on here? You guys see what's going on here with the video? The reason why it's skipping, kind of like you see it kind of skipping. Robert's using an AI software to help his videos be more concise, right? So what the AI software does is it goes through and kind of like eliminates pauses, eliminates things that aren't important to what's going on. You're not missing anything, but it's a really clever way of speeding things up. And he's pretty technically savvy. You can see the way he uses the Miro board. He knows what he's doing about, he's one of those more savvy lawyers that are out there that understand, how to use technology to his benefit. He's very efficient at it. So if you're kind of wondering why it's skipping like that, that's just there's a program, there's an AI out there that'll go in there and eliminate all the gaps in your videos and stuff. So in case you're wondering, that's what that is.
Early, the conduct, and then how the investigations were unfair. Oh, let me cover just one more thing from the investigations, because this is fascinating. When the FBI finally did search Biden's house, of course, with Biden's private lawyers and White House counsel present, they found a top secret document, and Biden's private lawyers informed the FBI that they did not have consent to take it. Think about that.
Yeah, that's
and
nice.
then the White House counsel, a senior lawyer from the White House counsel, traveled from Washington, D.C. up to Wilmington to take possession of the document. He took it from the FBI. Have you ever heard of a White House counsel lawyer inserting himself into the chain of custody for a critical piece of evidence in a criminal case? No, it's
Corruption.
ridiculous. You couldn't even imagine that something like that could happen, but it happened.
Corruption.
There's many other instances where the investigations were handled just completely differently, right? Everything in Biden's case was voluntary, right? The searches, there were no subpoenas, there were no search warrants, no grand jury. Oh, Biden's private lawyers, even though Biden's private lawyers were permitted to rummage through the crime scenes, they were not questioned, because the special counsel Hoover said this. He said, well, that would have required me to get into attorney-client communications, so I couldn't ask him those questions, which is actually correct, right? A prosecutor should not be able to get in between the confidential communications between, someone who is potentially a defendant and their lawyers. But that's not what happened in Trump's case.
No,
in
it's
Trump's
not.
case, they went quickly to legal compulsion, subpoenas, search warrants, grand jury, and then they hauled Trump's private lawyers before the grand jury and forced them to divulge protected attorney-client communications. Now, they got a court order to do that. It's an 87-page opinion from Judge Beryl Howell, and I spend 3 pages criticizing that opinion because it's horrible in my book. So that's the investigations in a nutshell, how unfair they were and how disparately they were handled. Then you get to the charging decisions, and nothing for Biden, right? This is a guy who stole classified,
minute,
fair
do that
they were
again?
and how disparately they were handled. Then you get to the charging
Dangerous Injustice. All right, that's the book I'm looking for right there.
decisions, and nothing for Biden, right? This is a guy who stole classified information for half a century, had it all over his house, was completely reckless, knew he had it, because one of the pieces of evidence that the special counsel obtained was an audio recording of Biden talking to his ghostwriter in February of 2017. So he'd left the White House. He was now a private citizen working on his book. And you can hear Biden say on the recording as he's coming up from the basement, I just found all the classified stuff downstairs. Now, any prosecutor would call that a taped confession, right? It would be a star piece of evidence, but that's not what DOJ did. What they did was they said, well, he was so senile at the time that he likely forgot, right after he found it, he probably forgot that he found it. They also, and this is the best part, special counsel Hoover then said, I also don't think many people would put much weight onto an 8-word utterance. Can you imagine that? I mean, in a murder case, what if a prosecutor has a tape where the defendant says, I just killed him? Well, that's 4 words. I don't see them dismissing that because it's too succinct of a confession. It's ridiculous, right?
Right, totally.
Yeah, but they did that. There's many other reasons. I call them all the get out of jail free cards that they dealt to Biden. And I go through them all in the book to include, ones that really irritated me because all my Democratic friends would throw this in my face. Oh, but they're very different because Biden cooperated with the process.
Right. The obstruction. Right. That's the argument.
And I said, well, what process was that? The process that Biden's own administration came up with to investigate Biden? Yeah, right. And then I, list 7 ways to pierce the myth of cooperation. Biden refused to answer questions from the special counsel. Refused to answer. That's not cooperation, right? Refused to give consent for them to take documents that they found. That's not cooperation. And there are many, many other instances I give in the book.
And they were very sneaky about it. They were not forthcoming about it, right? We learned about it like days after it happened, and there was weird stuff from Karine Jean-Pierre at the White House, and nobody really knew what was going on. Then all of a sudden,
I lay out the timeline in my book of what happened when, what they told us, and how what they told us turned out to be a complete fabrication and a lie. Yeah. They kept it off the public record for months. I mean, after they first found classified documents belonging to Biden, they kept it off the record for months. And another thing is, we still do not have total accountability for what Biden stole, because even the special counsel never gave us a total number. Now, I added them up in the appendix, and I got to about 130, but there's other things, like there was a stack of note cards that were highly classified. They just call it a stack. Biden's private lawyers took 9 boxes from the Penn Biden Center and sent them to Boston. We still don't know what was in those documents. Wow. And so I suspect Biden had hundreds of more classified documents than has been put on the public record. But he gets off scot-free, right? No charging decision, nothing. And then you look at what they did to Trump. It is unbelievable, especially for someone with my experience. And I've worked on cases with real spies, and we charged them with 1 count of espionage. 1. Trump had 32 counts broken down into individual documents. I'd never seen that done before. So that's how they got 32 felonies, by breaking them down and charging per document. I'll remind you, John Deutsch's case, he had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of classified documents. He got charged with 1 document, secret, on a misdemeanor, but not Trump. And Trump was president, for crying out loud, with more control over classified information than anyone. And also, everything in that indictment is so devious. They even fuzzed up the timing. Now, obviously, the White House has got cameras around it. They know when those documents got packed into boxes and put onto trucks. But the way they say it in the indictment is upon departing the White House. Well, the first thing I thought was, while he was still president or after? Now, it was while he was still president, but they don't want to say it. They don't want to say it because it tubes their case, because that's a presidential action at that point, and he's going to have immunity for that. Everything in that indictment is so devious. I'm just scratching the surface of it, but those are some of the big ones.
And those are great. But I did find it interesting that the Biden administration certainly knows how to appoint U.S. attorneys as special counsels, given that they did that with David Weiss, who was prosecuting Hunter Biden, a U.S. appointed attorney who was confirmed by the Senate. And the same thing with Robert Hur. And you actually talk about Jack Smith in the book. I think you detailed that Jack Smith and his wife made the documentary for Obama, Michelle Obama.
Yeah, I call it the infomercial, Becoming. I refer to Jack Smith as the great expansionist, the maker of chains, the crusader of conservatives. I'm a government attorney, so I look at regulations. And so the DOJ regulations are published at 28 CFR. So I looked them up, because the regulations for appointing, for Merrick Garland or the AG to appoint a special counsel, they're on the public record. And so I looked them up, and Jack Smith doesn't even meet the standard. I mean, Merrick Garland violated his own DOJ regulations, because the regulations say you should appoint someone who has an established history of properly interpreting and applying the law. Well, that's not Jack Smith. Jack Smith was rebuked unanimously by the Supreme Court, even the liberals on the Supreme Court, for the expansive interpretation he took on the fraud statute in order to prosecute another Republican, the Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell. And in the Supreme Court opinion said that Jack Smith's interpretation of the law had no basis in text or history. That's not a guy who should be appointed as a special counsel. So I would argue that Garland even violated the DOJ regulations, apart from, the constitutional arguments.
So what'd you guys think of that? That's amazing, isn't it? I'm going to keep an eye out for more from Joe Sweeney. And man, he gets it, right? He gets it. And I believe Robert has done some other there's a longer interview there. Of course, that was, like I said, he's using an AI to shorten that to make videos out of. But I believe there's an entire interview with this guy in here somewhere on his list. A lot of his things are the same. Go back to his videos. Let me see. I know I saw more than one. That ex-lawyer drops bombshell on Trump's Mar-a-Lago raid. That's another 20-minute video. I don't know if it's. I'll watch it. I'm gonna put it in the save list here. I'll watch it and decide if it's just rehashing what we just heard. But wow, I mean, it's good to know there are people out there that get it and they're talking about the right things and they're not jumping the shark and they're being realistic and based with their approach. It makes me feel a lot better because I know those guys reach a lot of people. I mean, Robert's got 409,000 subscribers. Joe Sweeney's written a book. Unfortunately, I was looking it up. It's not available for audio, but it's so that kind of sucks. That kind of sucks. But maybe by the time we get around to it, it will be out there. Let's see, it was just released August 27th. So maybe it takes a little bit of time for it to be released audio. I don't know. But I'll keep my fingers crossed and I'll keep an eye out for more from Mr. Sweeney. And if push comes to shove, I might just get the book and read it myself. So I don't know when I'll fit that in, but especially since I'm going to be taking on a few more shows weekly. So tomorrow night, I just want to remind everybody why I got you here on YouTube. We'll be covering the vice presidential debate. I don't know how you say that, but anyways, the Vance Walls debate tomorrow night. It should be a good old fashioned bout. I think we're back to the normal rules, if you will. And they'll be fact checking each other from what I understand too. But yeah, I'll be putting a show out. We'll probably get here a little early before it starts, so we can just hang out and talk. But yeah, this is the place to come for the vice presidential debate. We're gonna rock and roll with that, and then I'll be talking more about Winning 2024 Morning Edition coming soon to a streaming platform near you. Those will be done on the days that I don't stream at night. Right now, that's Wednesday and Friday. We'll start there and see how it goes. There's just so much information and so much happening so fast. I need more time. And I'd also like I said, I'm also trying to branch out a little bit more to try to reach some more people that maybe are a little bit more politically active during the day. And we'll see what we can do with that. We'll see if that makes a difference. And like I was saying at the beginning of the show, interfaith, right? If this is what I'm meant to be, this is what I'm meant to do, this is what it is, I'll have faith that it's happening for the right reasons. And I'll just keep trugging along. Sometimes it gets tough. I don't really hold back from the times where I'm kind of like going like, what am I doing here? Kind of moments that I have. But it's like I want to be in the conversations, the bigger conversations. I want to be included in some of the people that are doing, be able to talk to some of the people that are actually doing the same thing I'm doing on the higher level, but at the same time, I'm happy that I have this great, awesome crowd here and that you guys are here to take this journey with me and each one of us in the crowd, man, that we're all learning and you're this content that I'm providing is resonating with you. So yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. Let me see. Let me see. Let me go back to the comments here. I know T-Rex had said something as we got started. Okay, longshoreman. I didn't see a response from T-Rex about why is there a longshoreman strike? Why are they striking? Who's making them strike? There you go with the problem with unions, right? Is that the head of the union could say we're striking, and that's a very powerful position to be in, as Yuri Bezmenov would warned us about. That's a highly subvertible position and a highly sought after position to put someone subversive into, right? They want to control those heads of the unions, if not be them, so that they can decide to put people out of work or, slow down production of goods and services to you at any time when they feel like it's a good time to put pressure on to cause a crisis of sorts, right? Supply chain crises are always a big deal. Always a big deal when they happen. Heidi, what do you mean? Let's see. I was answering like I was responding to winning. I need to be clear though. Okay, got it. The Walls team already went to CNN and set expectations really, really low, saying that he's super nervous. Oh, there you go. Hey, you picked up on that, man. There you go. That's what they're doing, pre-programming. And I was, I'm gonna have a very interesting piece tomorrow, with a mobster. Let me see what his name is. I forget. Francesi. Any second now. Let's see right here. The Pelosi family were mobsters, say former mafia captain Michael Francesi. I'm going to hear it in my ear. How to say it right? Any second. or I won't. I guess I said it right. Anyways, he had some very interesting. Hey, Zach, what's up? How you doing, man? Franzese, 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 Franzese. Close enough. You guys knew I'm talking about. He made some really interesting points that we're going to go over tomorrow night. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. See, let's see. I believe, yeah, T3 was the one who gifted that membership to you, man. So make sure you say hello to her. She's around here somewhere, and thanks to her, she's the one who bought that membership for you. So good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Happy to have you here. I hope you're doing well. Let's see. We got a update from T-Rex here. The longshoremen are striking simply because their union contract has expired and the contract on the table isn't good enough according to the union rep. Okay. I don't know much about it. Don't know much about it, but we are right at the 1 hour mark. Pinned in the chat are the Rumble and X links. If you want to join us, we are now going to go and do our feature presentation, which is, as it says there, scrolling in the bar. We're going to be reading tonight from the book called Big Intel by J. Michael Waller. Fascinating book already off to a blazing start. I'm super excited for these chapters tonight. And coming up next, or right now, part 1, Wild Bill Donovan, the Bolsheviks, and J. Edgar Hoover, chapters 4 through 6. And these are 10 to 15 minute chapters, 20 minutes, but barely. Well, so we're gonna go on for a little bit tonight. Man, this book is written so well, and it's like so enthralling. At least the first 3 chapters were. I'm imagining the rest of it is. I mean, the information and the deep insights into things and the gap filling that goes on with this book is freaking amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I was hanging on his every word last week, so I think everybody that came over and listened to it felt the same way. So I hope that you guys will all join it. And look, Jacob Castro is just in time. He's just in time. He comes sliding in sideways, and here he is. He's ready for the book. He knows it's good stuff. And we're going to be heading on over. Zach, so good to see you. I hope you'll follow us over to Rumble and X and hang out with us more. If not, come back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern for Winning 2024, where I will break down all the latest in current events, politics, election 2024, the border invasion, and any other things we need to talk about. It's going to be all there. A lot of DNC and Kamala Harris lie debunking. I got a great piece about some lies she's been caught in. I didn't really go into it in depth last time. I did throw the link at you with the Candace Owens story, but her newest report is really pulled the veil back big time on the lies. Kamala ain't black. I don't think she is. I think that she's been busted. I think, and it brings into a lot of question of like a lot of other people that have claimed to be one thing when they're not, or at least they want to adopt an identity to get votes when they're not really that way. Elizabeth Warren, other people with that one was so busted it's not even funny. But Kamala, when she puts a fake picture in her own book to make herself look black when she's not, oh my goodness gracious. Wait till you see this report tomorrow night. If you haven't seen it already, I'll be going over it, as well as many other things, and as well as, well, actually, hold on, tomorrow night we're watching the vice president debate. Remind me. Yeah, so we'll go over some of that after the vice presidential debate. But the vice presidential debate is the feature tomorrow night. So if you're going to be watching it, come watch it here with us, because we're going to have a good old time. And we will, like I said, when you watch it with me, you got a voice. You won't get lost in the shuffle. And I'll put your comments up on stream as long as they're, appropriate and are going along with what's going on. That's usually how I do it during the debates. And then after that, I'll do the, and more. We'll do some coverage, and then we'll go into the talking about the new morning show, Winning 2024 morning edition, and whatever I don't get to, I'll pick up with in the AM on that. And that's gonna be interesting because I'm really groggy and I talk a lot slower in the morning, so it might be a little bit more like an NPR show or something, where I'm just kind of talking like this very AMSR voice. Good morning and welcome to the show. Yeah, I slow down a lot. I speed up as the day goes on. It's probably the energy drinks. I almost called it morning energy drink just to kind of go off. Everybody says coffee in the morning. I'm like, energy drink. Let's go. All right. Oh, wait. We got to do one more thing before we leave here. Let's get it done. Wolfram, thank you so much for that. I appreciate the $5 super chat. Do you want me to like do that into the other outro? I can do that again, and we'll just do it into the outro. I don't know. Do we need a new outro? You don't like the outsiders anymore? But anyways, thanks for the $5 super chat. Come on over to Rumble, man. Listen to this book with us. You're gonna enjoy it. And we're gonna have a good time. Again, the links are pinned in the chat and also in the description. We'll see you there. And until next time, Rumble. YouTube. Later.
Man, everyone's tensed up for a rumble.